Hey there guys, how are you? It's me, the Canadian movie buff. Get a load of this guy. He's not going to last very long on YouTube. Hello, I'm the Canadian movie buff, and this is my 100th episode. Wow. Between March 13th, 2016 and December 24th, 2018, I've delivered 100 movie reviews. Think about it. For the past 1,017 days, I have been giving you my opinion on 100 movies. Well, a little over 100, but that doesn't count. Now you may be asking, what do I have for my 100th episode? A clip show. So, I'll be going out and I'll see you in about 10 minutes, maybe even 5. There's not a whole lot of impressive clips. But anyways, I'm going to go now, and this is the Canadian movie buff saying... Just 1 second. Oh no, I am not picking that up. Ah, what the heck? What is that? Apparently, there's this trident in the backyard. Huh. Well, at least I have something to talk about now. This is my review of Aquaman. That's right, the first DC movie after Justice League is The Guy Who Can Talk to Fish. Now, I don't know where this trident exactly came from, but all I can say is I hope the guy looking for it isn't some traveler who's hopping from mythology to mythology, collecting all the powerful weapons and trying to take over all the realms. Ah, man, that would be a problem. But anyways, I'm going to go to the place where it all began. The place where I shot my very first episode. Seeing how my reviews have varied from location to location, I figured it would be nice to go back to that fateful spot in the basement one last time. Without further ado, this is my review of Aquaman. Well, let's get these out of here. Now, just one more thing before we begin. Alright, here's your warning. Alright, on with the show. Despite the critical and commercial success of Wonder Woman, the DCEU seemed to be on the rocks after the dismal Justice League. Warner Brothers really needed a win for this franchise if they wanted it to have a future. And for the most part, Aquaman is that big win. Granted, it's not getting the same amount of love from critics as Wonder Woman did, but the reception is still fairly positive. And financially speaking, it's shaping up to be the biggest DC success since the days of the Dark Knight trilogy. Although, that still remains to be seen. This movie does a fantastic job of telling about Arthur's story and his upbringing. He was the son of a lighthouse keeper and the Queen of Atlantis. When Atlanta washes up on shore and the lighthouse keeper takes care of her, you get to see a few minutes of them connecting, and then eventually they conceive a child, that child being Arthur. And then of course they make a little joke about him being named after a hurricane, which, considering Jason Momoa's stature, wouldn't be a surprise if they did. But they decide to name him King Arthur after their English folklore. Eventually, the Atlantean soldiers catch up to Atlanta, and she absolutely wipes the floor with them in a really great action sequence. What I liked about it was that it was all in one swooping take, and it is glorious. That's what I like about James Wan's style of filmmaking, particularly when it comes to action sequences. It's all one seamless and smooth motion with very few cuts. But she realizes that to protect her family, she must go back to Atlantis and face what's coming to her, otherwise more soldiers will come. After she leaves, we cut to a few years later where we get that iconic aquarium scene. We get to the title, and then we have pirates taking over a submarine. That's where we're introduced to Black Manta and his father. Being the protector of the ocean, Aquaman pushes the sub out of the water, jumps in,
permission to come aboard,
and then starts to take out the pirates. And because he can only be harmed by weapons made in Atlantis, the bullets and the knives don't affect him. Eventually, he gets in a showdown with Black Manta and his father, and the dad accidentally sets off a grenade that causes the submarine to be flooded. Black Manta's like, "You have to help us!" But Arthur, seeing how they were pirates, he was like, "You didn't grant other people mercy. Ask the sea for forgiveness." That, for me, is a character-owning moment. He knows that this character is his to play with, and he just used that moment to just really take it. So now we set up the whole Black Manta wanting to get revenge on Arthur plotline. But there's bigger stakes at hand, as Orm is about to declare war on us surface dwellers for polluting his oceans with garbage. And I have to say, Patrick Wilson absolutely nails it in this role. If it weren't for Eric Killmonger or Thanos, we'd probably have a winner for Best Villain of the Year. Now, Patrick Wilson has worked with James Wan before in the Conjuring series, but to see him in a completely different character here is absolutely amazing to behold. But the thing is, he already has the throne. It's Arthur who has to challenge him for it. And that's where Mara comes in. Mara knows that Orm will stop at nothing to wipe humans off the face of the earth, literally. So she goes to Arthur and says, hey, you gotta get the trident that belonged to the first king of Atlantis, or your brother's gonna flood the entire earth. Arthur dismisses her and is like, yeah, don't really care about that. But then the tidal wave comes in and is like, alright, I'm on board now. And she has the map to the place, but they need to go to Atlantis to get it. And once we enter into Atlantis, oh man, the effects bump up to 11. Everything is visually stunning, and everything is a beautiful mix of blue, green, purple. The colors of the ocean really pop here. And a little bit of a plug here, but it looks really good in IMAX. So they meet up with Volko, Arthur's mentor, who points out that they need to find the Desert Kingdom in order to find the trident. Unfortunately for them, Atlantean soldiers find their hideout, and we get another cool action sequence with a lot of long takes. But ultimately Arthur gets captured, and right there then, in the throne room, in chains, he challenges Orm to the fight. Unfortunately, he only has his mother's trident, so he's pretty much screwed. In the fight, he does seem to hold his own pretty well in the fight, but then Orm breaks the trident. So Mara comes in with the ship, fires him off, and then they both escape out of the city and ride in a whale's mouth towards the Sahara Desert. They get on the plane, and we have that cool jumping out of a plane sequence, and this is where they cleverly flip the whole hero knows exactly where to go and the psychic doesn't trope. Mara's just following the GPS tracker like, GPS is telling me it's this way, we gotta get going. And she has to drag Arthur along, who's like, we're in the middle of nowhere, you got us lost. And of course we have the scene where he accidentally stumbles upon the entrance to the Desert Kingdom. He takes the GPS, throws it on the ground, it's like, we're lost, okay? This is how they go to, what? After a fun sand slide, they activate the map and figure out the clues of how to find the trident. I like the chemistry that Amber Heard and Jason Momoa had. There was a back and forth banter between them that really made the movie shine. They're both able to work together and figure out what each clue is. For example, Mara gets this map out of the bottle, but finds it incomplete, but then Arthur takes it and looks for the right statue, puts it in, and looks behind it and says, oh yep, we gotta go that way. Then Black Manta shows up, and the suit is awesome. Orm made a deal with Black Manta to kill both of them, and so he designed himself a suit made of prototype Atlantean armor and weapons. And you know how I said earlier that Arthur can only be hurt by Atlantean weaponry? Well, let's just say he has a hard time defeating Manta this time around. We have an awesome battle sequence in Sicily, but then they go on their way sailing off to the trench to find the trident in the lost sea. He gets the trident and then he comes back just in the nick of time as there's a huge battle going on between sharks and crabs. Well, it's more complex than that. Orm is trying to unite 4 kingdoms so he can be granted the title Ocean Master, and he's just about to claim victory and claim that title, but then Arthur shows up and says, I challenge you! Again. They go above water and duke it out on top of a ship, and the battle that plays out, man, I'm sorry Black Panther, but you do not have the best final battle between 2 heirs for the throne. The way it's shot and put together, with the kingdoms of the ocean watching, it is an incredible climax. And Arthur is about to stab Orm in the chest, but he stops short and then puts it down. Orm says, what are you waiting for? Kill me! But then Atlanta shows up and says, stop. No more killing. And he's like petrified because he thought she was dead. What I liked about this movie was how they flipped some of the tropes of the 2 heirs battling out for the throne kind of story. Instead of Arthur killing Orm, he lives to fight another day. And when Orm discovers that Volko is loyal to Arthur, he doesn't kill him. He just has him locked up. It's a nice subversion of expectations. And the score to this music is fantastic. In fact, once we get to Atlantis, they are synthesizing beats that make it feel more like Blade Runner than a typical superhero movie. There's no denial that Yahya Abdul-Mateen is fantastic as Black Manta, but he's not in the movie for very long. We have that opening pirate takeover where he and his dad have a talk about a knife for some reason. Then we get the revenge plot started up, and then we have him meeting with the Atlanteans about once or twice. Then he develops his suit, and although it's an interesting look of how he develops the suit, he doesn't show up again until the Battle of Sicily, which ends with him being knocked into the ocean with half his mask blasted off. Then he doesn't show up until a mid-credit scene where he's rescued by Dr. Stephen Shin. Now, Dr. Stephen Shin is an interesting character because he's a surface dweller who knows about Atlantis, and he's been trying his whole life to prove that this city, this kingdom, this empire exists. Naturally, nobody believes him, but then again, he's played by Randall Park. I like Randall Park as an actor, but this was not the role for him. They are hinting that he may become more of a villain in the sequel, but I feel like he's going to be the comedic sidekick to Black Manta. It's definitely a bit lighter in tone this time around, and there's a lot more humor, but it almost got to the point of MCU level of comedy. Don't get me wrong, they don't undercut every potential dramatic moment with a cheap joke, but there are moments where it felt like, Oh, that's definitely Marvel. There's this one part where Mera gets a bouquet of roses and she sees that people are eating like actual fruit, and so she decides to take a bite as well. It's one of those moments where like, get it? It's quirky and funny because you're not supposed to eat roses, and she doesn't know that. That's why it's funny. And with Atlanta not dead thing, you could kind of tell the moment that she pulled her out of the water. We can see your suit from under the trench scales. It kind of really isn't that much of a surprise. Aquaman was the ultimatum chapter of the DCEU. If this had been doing terribly, we may be looking at a soft reboot of the whole franchise. Well, luckily for them, Aquaman is really, really, really good, and it is a fantastic introduction of general audiences to the character. For now, the DCEU is back on solid ground, even if it will take a couple more years and a movie or three before general audiences are like, yes, a new DCEU movie! But when that happens, it's going to be bona fide box office gold. For now, we can sit back, relax, and enjoy this fun underwater adventure filled with spectacular visuals, outstanding effects, awesome action sequences, and strong performances. One of them being Dolph Lundgren as King Nereus. The continuation of the DCEU is out of one's hands now. It's up to David F. Sandberg and Shazam to carry that winning streak of the DCEU forward next April. Aquaman deserves plenty of viewings, whether it's at the theater or on Blu-ray. Alright, that's my review of Aquaman. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Leave your answer by commenting down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and hit the bell icon if you're new here. And I just want to say thank you for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more. And that's about it for this season of Canadian Movie Buff Reviews. See you in the next one. As always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff saying, I hope you've had a fantastic year at the movies. See ya! Hey Josh, sorry to bother you during the holidays, but we have a situation.